this project when I was an undergrad, and I had to interview my mother and father. I asked my father, you know, why sociology? And as was alluded to before, his father was a mathematics professor at Stanford, and my father had one of those, you know, beautiful math minds. And unfortunately, my brother and I didn't receive those math genes, but we got a deep voice. So I asked him, why sociology, why not math? And he said, I wanted to do something worthwhile, and I wanted my life to mean something. I wanted to have meaning. And I think he succeeded. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who shares that sentiment. That being said, thank you very much for being my father, and couldn't ask anything better as a testament to what has been said throughout the night. I mean, nothing was very shocking to me, just a great father, a great teacher, a great inspiration to people who to do with your life what you really enjoy. And I always subscribe to the fact that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
He's about to go ask you guys some money. So yeah, at 7 and 8 years old, we were out in Boston passing out leaflets, going door to door with them. And they say, yeah, you just go cover that block. So I guess how the new generation does it, and you know, we send our kids to go collect the money. So these little ones are going to go around asking you guys for donations to Coalition. And probably about an hour and a half before this event, I came home. I'm in grad school at BU, and I came home from the bus, and Dan was actually with the kids because they pick them up on Fridays, and he said, "You think you could videotape this tonight?" Always on work mode. And someone alluded to the fact earlier that it's hard to say no to him. I had a couple people, young ladies who were volunteering for Third Eye, actually, young lady and a young man. And I think my parents asked me, hey, I called this person 5 times and they never showed up, but I'm like, I don't know, I'll ask them. And they were just like, it's so hard to tell your father no, so I just tell him yeah, and then I don't remember to go. So he has that way about him to make you an offer you can't refuse. He's definitely been here a long time. The name of this building is the G Building, right? But he was actually on the naming committee of this building, and he said, nothing else to call it, I'm just call it the G Building after my last name. And it's where he eats, so yeah. He's so old school that he still thinks he needs AOL to get on the internet. I try to tell him, no, that's like 1999, but no, you gotta have my AOL. Definitely old school. I mean, so old school, he actually taught at the old school, the old BCC on Durfee Street. That's the old school youth. Definitely someone stuck in his ways, but I think with that comes kind of an old school integrity, loyalty and devotion to this place and to his mission, and to the mission of importance that he's brought across. Like his father before him, my grandfather, like my brother said, he spent 40 plus years at one institution, giving it 110% for all the right reasons. He truly loves to educate and empower people. But he never demands credit for what he's done. It's never about him, and that's something that just, it's just an awesome trait. You know, for instance, my brother just alluded that he has a PhD. How many of you guys knew that? I mean, you might know that because you're colleagues of his, but that's not something he advertises or even says he has. And why'd you do it? This is over 20 years ago. I used to drive up to Northeastern and be away from the family for a couple nights a week or whatever it may be, go get his PhD. So from now on, I told him a couple months ago, I want to address you as Dr. Dan. Can I address you as Dr. Dan? And then maybe we can all come to the realization that that's why your handwriting is so messy. Again, me and my brother are echoing some of the same things, but I swear it seems like every day one of his and my mother's former students comes up to me, or I see him at the supermarket, or people that volunteer with me or whatever, and they tell me that, you know, they had my father as a professor and he had a huge impact on me, and, you know, he influenced me, like Shelley said and like others said, to go in a path, in a humanitarian career path. You know, a lot of them say he was their favorite. And, you know, a lot of professors are just about the theory, and that's just so not him. He puts that theory into action. This guy's gonna put this podium into action onto the ground. He puts it into practice, and he just gets many others to join the causes he feels strongly about, and it's like an epidemic, you know. At least the ones that actually show up, right? Yeah, so I believe his legacy at BCC is just that it's been about passionately inspiring people to make a change in their own lives, and then to be successful at making change in the community and the society in general, and we're a better place for it, and I love you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take this time now to close out the evening. I thank all of you for coming. I thank Dan and Marlene for asking me to be the host. Very excited about doing this. I was actually very honored because you actually know so many more people in this room, and for great periods of time you've known these people, but yet you've only known me for 5 of you asked me to come out and speak this evening, so I was really honored. I really consider it a privilege. I was actually brought to tears when Marlene asked me, so thank you very much for inviting me to speak. So Dan, this is it. Please enjoy your semi-retirement. I have to say semi because I know you'll be around if it's for nothing else but to ask for checks.
I'll be very brief. This really means a lot to me. Just coming out here with all of you, it means just to know that you have that respect and love for me. And what BCC has meant to me, among other things, is having people like you that I can work alongside every day, who I know put the first things first. When the BCC students go to other colleges, no matter how successful they are, when I ask them about their experience, they all say, but I wish I was still at BCC. And when I ask them what they like about it, they say, because people care so much. I'm not just a number, I'm somebody that people care about, whether it be faculty or staff. Overwhelmingly, the quality of the people here in this room and others it's people that really do care and put the mission first, not just in theory but in action. And being part of that really makes gives me a feeling of solidarity. I feel like we're on the same page. And so that common enterprise is great. And so believe it or not, when I wander around campus asking you for raffle tickets, it's not only get money, I also enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the feedback that I'm getting. It's a way of reconnecting with people. It's great to be involved in something like this for so long and to know it's for a good cause. I feel very lucky because I was able to do in this period of time, I actually say was, it hasn't ended because I'm still going to be teaching part-time. I am teaching part-time this semester and I'm going to continue that. But very lucky to be involved in something that really is meaningful, to have work that is not just a way of getting money, but where there's a purpose, where you feel you're accomplishing something, whether it be energizing students, whether it be interesting students, whether it be getting them motivated to go on in sociology or just having an impact in their lives, or just even just creating an interesting course that people say, yeah, I'm kind of glad I had that. I mean, it really feels good to be involved in that. And I put a lot of energy into it. You know, during we go around away on vacation, and I always be looking for the good book, the one that can reach edge. But I will say, by the way, one thing, negative impact of BCC on me, and this was that I lost my joy of reading, because all I did when I had a chance to read, which was very rare, was look for the next book to use in my classes. So instead of reading for enjoyment, it was always, oh yeah, maybe I can use it in my class. I'd read through and now I have to prep it. So I'll get that back a little bit during retirement. But anyway, to have the privilege of being able to do something that feels that meaningful really makes a difference. And I consider myself very, very lucky, and very lucky to be around people like yourself. Also very lucky to have Marlene, to have a partner in life, but also in the work that we do, not just politically, but at BCC. Be able to talk, even before Marlene started teaching, we would always talk about teaching. And we forged, you know, a philosophy of how to teach together. And then when she started teaching, that was taken to a higher level. And, you know, here was somebody I could even share an office with and be on the same page and let my hair down, which was great. And so, you know, she had so much to contribute to all the stuff that I've done, everything that, all the positives that people said, you could just substitute her name and more. Also wanted to say something special about the Coalition for Social Justice and the people that got involved, particularly Missy and Debbie, and others here that are involved, like Deborah and other volunteers. Such wonderful people. And again, just to be able to work alongside people that have the same dedication and have the same belief in social change and have the same belief in trying to empower other people to get active, to get involved, is so satisfying and makes a real difference. And BCC has a lot to do with that. It's no accident that Debbie was a BCC student before she got involved with the coalition. It's not just that she was in my class and went to BCC, that's where we met her. It was also that people that are trying to do something with their lives, who come from less privileged backgrounds, particularly, where do they go to school? They go to BCC, right? And then from there, they're logically, if they get active and get interested, they get involved in the community and they have that experience of where they come from, they bring to bear, and then the education that they've gotten from here, the self-confidence that they've gotten, that they can make a difference. So that's a big part of it too. I wanted to tell one story, which is to kind of wrap up. I don't know if people know this, but when I first got hired, there was mixed feelings in BCC about me. Not from faculty particularly. I got a nice response from faculty, not from students. I got a really nice response from students. Jerry Monovich was at the role. No, but the mixed feelings were from some administrators, including the Dean of Academic Affairs at the time, where that job was called, and there was an immediate position below that. And these people were ideological right-wingers, and they saw me as a threat. And within 2 months after teaching here, I was called on the carpet for the readings I was teaching and said, and they plot, I came in very late and the textbook had a bunch of handouts I was using. Still use handouts, but I walk into this office 2 months after I start, and this dean plops the stuff on the table and says, "This is what you're using in class?" And the reading that was on top was the Republican Party's critique of the war in Vietnam. I said, "Yeah, like Republican Party's critique of the war in Vietnam." And they basically said, threatened me that if I continued to use this stuff, they would fire me. And I said, "I'll use what I think is academically justifiable," and continued to do that. And at the end of that year, I almost got fired. They wanted to fire me, but fortunately, a bunch of students went in and talked to the president. And the president wasn't necessarily a big fan of him. He was open-minded enough that he responded to that. And a lot of the students were older, a lot of Vietnam vets. Say, "Okay, we'll give you another year, but you're on probation." So I go through the next year on probation, and they had a number of things that they said that I had done wrong, like lacking the poised and proper relationship with my students, because I went and talked with students in the cafeteria, not using a textbook, so I used a very boring textbook the next year to cover that one. That was a real step forward academically. But it made no difference. It made no difference whatsoever. So at the end of the year, they said, "We're giving you a terminal contract, you're out." So then the old gravel rouser gets into the act. It starts wandering around the old campus of BCC, and we organized a meeting of 100 people in a school that was at that time 1,300 students, ready to go out and circulate petitions. They got petitions circulated and call for me to be rehired. And they were worried. Maybe there's going to be a strike. Maybe there's going to be student protest here. And so several of the progressive faculty members that I had good relationships with, such as Tanya Nicolette, such as Margaret Reichenbusch, whose name this lounge was made, given whatever I'm trying to say. Asked the president if they could reevaluate, and they said yes, and they set up a committee. And the committee wrote to all my students, asking them, submit a questionnaire to come and testify. So I had 25 people came in, every one of them was positive. 49 people submitted questionnaires, 46 were positive, 3 of them said I was living in sin with a woman. And in the end, the president, based on that, rehired me, and I was indicated, although I went through 3 years of a lot of anxiety, and I won't say that I easily recovered from that. It wasn't easy to go through all of that, figuring out how to handle the whole thing, and what to do, what not to do, and what to fight, and what not to fight. But the bottom line was, I was back in the fold, and then my career continued on. But I'll tell you, it made me appreciate a couple of things. First of all, the support I got from the faculty and from the students was tremendous. And not just from them, but also for some administrators. Like Leo Elias, who's since passed away, was the dean of students. He talked to the students and knew what the students thought about me. So he was an advocate for me. So it wasn't all the administrators, but a certain group. So that was important. But it also made me appreciate what followed, which was consistent support from administration and appreciation about issues like civic engagement, about getting students involved, about interesting students, and so on. I was seen as an asset rather than a liability. And I started with Eileen Farley as president and continued with President Sprague, and I had division deans that were supportive, including Tanya Nicolette, including Dave Feeney, and including Ray LaVirtue, and coming right up to the president. So I really appreciate that, because free speech sometimes is not, you assume we have it, but you can't take it for granted, particularly in times like the 60s when people felt threatened. It's like here I was organizing, and I was organizing in a totally acceptable manner, but the bottom line was they saw me as a threat anyway because of my views on politics. Right? And if it hadn't been for that support, I would not have continued, and if it hadn't been for the continued support, I would not have thrived as I did. I want to thank everybody for coming, and really, this is something I remember for the rest of my life.